It was so cool to be there. And I have to tell a bad story on myself. Oh, I hate myself so much for this story. The morning the day we had there started early. I think we left our hotel at like 7:30. Walked like half a mile to the nearest bus stop that was going to take us straight up the main street, several miles, maybe two or 3 miles to the coffee shop. And we get to the bus station or the train. I think it was it was a bus. And we wait for like 15, 20 minutes for a bus, and nothing's happening. And there's no buses. We haven't seen any public transportation. And finally, someone walks up to us and says, "Are you waiting for the bus?" In English, but they were definitely German, and said, "Yeah." And they're like, the sign says that it's canceled, no bus today. Like, oh, okay. So Google Maps, can we walk? I guess we're walking. So we started our 2-mile walk to the cafe, and on the way, we run across big blockade in the road. And it is at that point we learn there has been a bombing that morning.
Oh.
One of the bodegas, one of the little convenience store grocery shops, there was an explosion that we later found out was probably, I don't know, rumored mafia something or other. I don't know, crime syndicate. I don't really know the details, but a few people were killed in the bombing. So we find that out, as the day goes on, but we take a detour around, get back on the road, and keep walking. And we're walking up towards the cafe, towards Dratan's place, and outside the coffee shop, standing on the street corner, is Dratan, the owner of the coffee shop and roastery, who I have been following for years. I've seen him pour hundreds of lattes online, and he's just standing there, on the curb outside his coffee shop. I don't remember. I think he probably had his hands in his pockets, just like he does classically in the fancy videos that, zoom around him and everything. And I'm like, that's him. And I walk up to him, and I say, "Hi, I'm Eric. I've been following you for a long time. I'm super excited to meet you." And he just kind of looks at me and says, "Today's a sad day in our city. We had a bombing this morning, and 3 people died." And I said, "Oh, can I take a selfie with you?"
That's so crazy.
He said, 3 people died in my city today. It's a sad day for my city. And I said, "Can I take a selfie with you?" Like,
oh, no.
Because I was shell-shocked.
That was your goal, too, was get the photo.
I know, but I was so angry at myself for not being sensitive to what was happening.
Did he take the photo?
He took the picture. And then I went in, and he made me a coffee, and he made me 2 of them because I ordered a second one, and I had an amazing Eggs Benedict. But I was just so embarrassed because my whole experience visiting this coffee shop that I'd been looking forward to visiting for 4 years was colored by my idiocy in just blowing over this tragedy right to his face. I felt like slapped him in the face. So I've learned to pay attention a little bit more, and my wife was standing in the back, just like,
yep.
It was one of those things in the moment. We didn't really realize the significance of it either. So, like, I justify it a little bit because I didn't quite grasp the gravity of it. I certainly wasn't trying to be insensitive. But
just too many things add up.
Too many things at once. The 2-mile walk, the long detour. I was sweaty and didn't want to be.
And there he is. And
so anyway,
coffee shop.
Yeah, we probably added. It was probably a $300 addition to our trip. It was a few $1,000s for the whole trip. But I probably added $300 to our trip to go get that cup of coffee.
That's so fun, though.
Yeah. And we would have gone somewhere else otherwise.
Oh, yes.
But
did he respond in a way? Like, what was his response to? Did he just take the selfie and be like, "Let's go inside"?
No, it was it's kind of a blur.
Okay.
I don't remember
No, you're
exactly. He
good.
did not invite me inside. Like, he wasn't all jovial
Yeah.
after that because he stood outside a few more minutes after we went inside.
Hmm.
But
What was the biggest culture shock for you when you were over there?
So I've been to Europe a few times now.
Okay.
So and I've been to several different countries. So
Okay.
it's kind of different every time. Um, One thing is smoking, maybe. Like Germany and France are huge smoking countries.
Okay.
Like
Like cigarette
cigarette
smoke?
smoking.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was
Hmm.
a shift a little bit because I mean, we're not smoking is a thing here, but it is a lot more people smoke there than they do here now.
Interesting. Would
Yeah.
have never thought that.
Yeah, it's and young, like yeah, in public, young. You know, I don't know about teenagers, but maybe. And I know teens smoke here too, but it's less socially acceptable here now.
Mm-hmm.
There, it seems like it's just as socially acceptable as it was in the U.S. 50 years ago.
That's super interesting.
Yeah,
Is your wife into coffee as much as you?
she enjoys coffee. Yeah,
Okay.
yep. I don't think she might not say as much as me, but yeah, she enjoys coffee. Our first trip to Europe was in 2018, and it was on that trip that she started drinking coffee.
Okay.
About halfway through that trip, she started drinking coffee a lot more, and that was the trip that really changed the way I drink coffee, because or the types of coffee that I drink. Before that, gas station coffee all day long. Now I won't be caught dead with gas station coffee.
I was gonna ask.
And it was so much good coffee that I had over there because we didn't make our own. They don't have. I mean, they have gas station coffee, but it's different. Most of Europe, especially Italy, where we spent 3 of our weeks, the first trip, is espresso. That's if you order a coffee, you're getting espresso. You know, you're not getting a drip coffee. In fact, a drip coffee costs like 4 times as much as a shot of espresso does. Whereas here, you're gonna pay $1.50 for a drip coffee at Speedway, and you'll pay $3 for a shot of espresso. In Italy, it's the opposite.
Huh.
Yeah.
Culture is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have never thought the smoking though.
Hmm.
I think that would be
Yeah.
interesting.
It was. It was interesting at first, but we got used to it. And
Right.
public transportation is another really big thing that Europe makes Europe a lot different.
Is that more trains and buses?
So there are trains between every major city in Europe.
Okay.
And then a lot of local trains once you're in a region. And within a city, subways, buses, above ground trains, like above ground subways. Amsterdam, where we spent 4 days, has a pretty extensive rail system in the city. Above ground metro.
Yes.
Right, but there's also underground metro in Amsterdam too.
Interesting.
And Paris is all underground. London is underground, but then London also has a really extensive bus route too. So I absolutely love going to big cities because of the transportation. Now, not every city in Europe has that. When we were in Rome, public transportation was a nightmare. Now, again, that's been quite a few years now. So six years. So maybe things are a little different. We also didn't have Wi-Fi or internet on our phones when we were there on that trip. So trying to navigate the public transportation system with downloaded maps was probably not the way to do it. I bet you it's a lot better if you're online.
Seeing accuracy.
But yeah. But that's a big difference in Europe to the U.S. is the public transportation, how easy it is to get around to different places, and how cheap it is. We were in Luxembourg at the end of our second day there, or first day. At the end of our second day. We're like, we have another 2 days here, but I feel like we've seen the city the way we want to see the city. Is there somewhere we can go for a day trip? And it's like, well, let's see if we can go to Belgium. And so for 10 euros, for the both of us, we got round trip train tickets to the closest city across the border into Belgium. It's like a 20-minute train ride one way,
Huh.
like 2.50, 2 euros 50 for one person, and like that's super cheap
Yes.
for a train ride to another city. You know, not even for a single fare within a city, whereas it would be in a lot of places. Like in France, I think in Paris, for a single trip is probably 2 or 3 euros. But this particular
Hmm.
this particular day, this train was 2.50 for a 20-minute to another city. Like, all right,
All right, doing it.
add Belgium to our list of countries we've visited.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, and for us, as I was gonna say outsiders, I'm gonna stick with it. Outsiders, that's fun. It's new. It's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
So that's incredibly helpful.
yeah. I do wish we had better public transportation in the U.S.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish we had public transportation in the U.S. No, I know we have it. It's just not always as efficient and reliable.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, especially with like Uber and all these other places that are creating businesses from the lack thereof.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever get it.
Yeah.
Just because of those
Who knows?
markets. But
Yeah.
speaking of business and markets, would you ever start a coffee shop?
I've thought about that. I think the answer is no,
Ooh,
because I don't want
Mishne's Brews.
the business stuff.
Okay.
I have heard so many. I have heard, and I've followed enough coffee shop owners, and heard them talk about what it's like owning a coffee shop, to know that owning a coffee shop is not just showing up in the morning, making coffee, and serving it to people, and going home. There's way too much other stuff involved in owning a business that I don't want any part of. And so if I ever had a business partner who wanted to run a business and wanted me to be head barista, that's a different story.
Okay.
I would need a lot more training, like to be a head barista, to run a coffee shop if I wanted to do it right. There are people that I know. I would say most people I know a ton more about coffee than they do. There are some people that I know that I feel like a fifth grader to a college student when it comes to what I know about coffee. I feel like you are so much smarter than me. You know all of these things, and I know nothing. Like, you are speaking a foreign language to me when you talk about how you make coffee, and here, so I know if I were to work a coffee shop or run a coffee shop, I would need to learn a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, pros and cons.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the business stuff to me, I love business. Like
Okay.
I would rather do the opposite. I'd rather
Really?
be business and I mean I think
So
coffee.
I just need a business partner. Let's go into
There we go,
business
right?
together.
Start.
You run my coffee shop, and I'll make coffees.
You'll make the coffees. I love the smell of coffee. I haven't really gotten into coffee.
Okay.
I'm also in that weird. I'm a college student. Weird time of life to try to get into something like coffee.
Yeah.
But no, I'm the complete opposite. I would much rather have the business stuff and those puzzles to solve
Okay. Then to
than
do
sit there and do the same, or not same coffee,
Yeah.
but styles. I'd rather have the problems to solve.
Okay.
So, yeah, opposite.
It's weird because I like problem solving, I like puzzles, but the doing that as a business does not appeal to me.
Just you would lose the love for it, for coffee making. You
It
think?
wouldn't be worth it. I don't think it would be worth it. I've thought about a food truck. I feel like running a food truck would be a little bit less businessy. I know there was still a lot of business stuff because it's still a restaurant.
Right.
But if I did a food truck that was a coffee food truck, had that might be the way to get me to open a coffee shop if it was on wheels. My wife is a baker, so I'd probably have her do all of our pastries.
There you go.
We would make a good team as far as that goes. But that's probably still not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm in my dream job right now, so
I was gonna say okay.
I don't want to do anything else.
That's a blessing. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
And then okay, that would make coffee not worth it. Is it hard being on the coach of speech and debate, or trying to balance the role of, okay, coach versus teaching? And because obviously when you're a coach, you are specifically coaching and pouring into what your knowledge, trying to enhance something. When you're teaching, you may be teaching someone who has no knowledge. Is it hard to go from someone who's advanced to not as advanced? And does it ever, the love for something, get lost in there sometimes?
Mm. It is hard. So
Mm-hmm.
to answer that part of the question, it is hard teaching a fundamentals of speech class where I'm getting people who have never given speeches before or are objectively not good public speakers to coaching with people who some of them have been doing public speaking competitions since they were 11 and 12, and so got 10 years, 9 to 10 years of speech and debate experience that I'm teaching them to go to the next level. It's a hard shift sometimes. I enjoy the challenge of taking someone with a lot of experience to the next level more, but there's also something almost more rewarding about seeing someone give their first speech versus seeing someone give their 50th.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't think you could do that. Like, you were scared to death to get up there, and you did it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's something really rewarding to me about that. There's also something to be rewarding about winning a state championship, or having one of my students win a state championship in public speaking, or as a team when we win a tournament. There's something really rewarding to that too. As far as the burnout kind of thing, or do I ever get tired of that? At times, both at times. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes after I watch, my 30th uh, first impromptu speech or first informative speech of the semester, I'm like, okay, just be good already. I did. I love seeing
Yes.
people do something for the first time,
Mm.
and do it well, especially. But when you teach a lot of them, it does get a little bit old, and it's sometimes hard to keep them apart. That's a challenge sometimes too.
Right.
But um, I don't know. There was a period where I was burned out on speech and debate competitively, but it was a short time, and at that time I had a fairly pessimistic. I was under pessimistic leadership, and so that was weighing on me too. That influenced me a lot, and several years out from that now, I'm like, no, this is really great. I love this again.
Yeah.
And I mean, it only took me about a year and a half of being away from that to really love it again.
Breaks are good too.
Breaks are good. I've had two. I've had two significant breaks from forensics in my life. From when I started in high school, um, I took 1 year off in college.
Okay.
I don't count that as significant break because in that time I was doing theater, so I was still performing. Uh, but my first master's degree, was at a school that did not have forensics. So I wasn't coaching. I wasn't judging. I judged a little bit. I traveled a little bit to some tournaments, but I wasn't really active at that time. So that was a break. And then I went to my second master's degree, where I was coaching. So I was back in it. And then after that, I took another year and a half or two off. Oh, maybe it was just a year. It felt like a bigger break
That's also good in a
because of
way.
the life experiences that happened in that time. Um, but yeah, so really, I guess it was 24 years ago. 2020 was the year I started in high school. Not 2020, 2000.
Okay.
The year 2000 was my first year doing speech and debate. So I can always remember how many years I've been doing it.
That's
20,
helpful. There
24
you go.
years. I've been doing it for 24 years. And in that time, I've taken maybe a total of 4 years, maybe 5 years off from doing forensics,
Okay.
spaced out,
Yeah.
spaced out, probably 4 actually.
Those are just good refreshers.
Mm-hmm.
Come back rejuvenated.
Yeah, with new perspectives, with new um, skills. Every skill you learn uh, can help you with other things in life. I believe that. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
My time away from forensics in grad school, research as a communication researcher, helped me be a better writer. And so when I'm helping students write speeches, I can help them be better, write better speeches now because I had that time writing research papers. My
Yeah.
time doing theater for a few years helps me help my students perform better.
Everything has a reason. Everything has a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's evident at some
Absolutely.
point or another.
Yeah.
I don't think
It's
everything
not always
becomes.
obvious.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be. You just got to trust that it is. Trust that it's impacting.
At some point or another.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy the judging aspect, having to put a number to a performance?
I do.
Okay.
I think I do. I had to think about that for a second because parts of me doesn't like that, but parts of me, I think I enjoy the challenge of of thinking through who was better. Because when I watch, let's say I watch a persuasive speech performance, and if I'm a judge at a tournament, I'll watch 5 or 6 persuasive speeches, all on different topics, all by very different people, and I have to rank them 1 through 5 or 6.
Right.
And so I'm evaluating several things. I'm evaluating their performance ability, their vocal techniques, how well did they communicate the meaning in their words, how well did they create their build emotional connection, how well did they have variety, how did they move. I'm evaluating all of that, but I'm also evaluating the logical argument that they've built in their speech. How much and what do I value more? So so that's a game, right?
Yeah.
That's a challenge for me. All right, who do I rank higher and why?
Hmm.
And so that part is fun. It is not necessarily fun when I sit in a room with 5 speeches that are all equal, good or bad, right? If I watch 5 bad persuasive speeches, it's just as hard as when I watch 5 really good ones.
Mm.
It might be harder to watch 5 really good ones because I'm like, somebody up here is getting my 6th place.
Yeah.
Among like when I've judged some final rounds at national tournaments before, and we're looking at a national pool of, I don't know, there might be 150 speakers in that category, 300 sometimes depending on the event.
Yeah.
And we're down to the top 6. They're all good. They all are worthy of being national champions
Yeah.
because at this point there's not that much differentiating them.
Mhm.
But you still have to decide what makes one better than another. And that's fun to figure out. It's not as much fun when you're like, who was the worst of the group? Which
Yes.
doesn't happen often. Most of the time I judge around, I can see top half, bottom half. Almost always. Maybe top 2, bottom 4, but almost always top 3, bottom 3. And it's just figuring out how they fall within that. But
What's it like when it's in a room of 4 really good speakers, one really good speaker, but it's a topic you completely disagree about personally?
I believe that in a speech competition, you should set aside how you feel about something and evaluate their ability to construct an argument and present it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have given first place ranks to speakers that I fundamentally disagreed with the argument.
Yeah.
I've done that quite a few times because objectively they had a better performance or were a better speaker or presented their argument better. Now, I might offer critiques of their argument but I'm not gonna say I disagree with you because this is my opinion. I'm gonna point out the logical flaws in their argument in the feedback that I give them, but I'm not. That's if it just because I disagree with it, I'm not gonna rank it low. Um, there's probably been an exception or two along the way, if I think it's like way off base. I saw a speech on cannibalism one time, like a pro cannibalism speech. That goes to the bottom.
There's a line. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you can cross it.
It wasn't an amazing speech in the first place, so I've also felt better ranking it low.
Yeah.
But like, no, come on.
Yeah, that's trying to push too much.
Yeah, yeah. Um, anyway, yeah, I enjoy judging. Um, it's not my favorite part. My favorite part is coaching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Getting to see growth. I think that's so cool. I mean, that's what teaching too, though.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
first person to ever give a speech, watch them grow, and then watch your performers grow and rank.
Yep.
Too.
There have been some folks that I started coaching when they were 11 and 12, and coached them all the way through high school,
Okay.
their senior year, and those are the really exciting journeys to watch for me. You know, watching 9-year-old 9-year-old Alicia give her first speech, and then 19-year-old Alicia give her last competitive speech, and it's just so cool thinking I've seen her grow through
Mhm.
all of this, and I've helped her grow through all of this, and it's I'm a proud coach quite often when I see, not proud of myself, but proud that I was able to be a part
Mhm.
of this.
Joining the journey.
Yeah.
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 Any favorite memories or even least favorite memories with like speech and debate and performing wise, like going with your team because y'all travel a lot.
We do travel a lot. Um, the tournament we're going to here next week, this coming weekend, is a tournament that I went to as a competitor.
Oh,
And I just remembered this week that it was at this tournament when I was a competitor that I got up to give my speech and got about a minute in and realized I'm giving the wrong speech because there's different categories. I was giving the wrong
no.
speech in that room. And so I had to stop and I said, "I'm sorry. This is the wrong speech. Can I start over and give my other one?" So embarrassing. Like so cringe. Like I'm 18, I should know better. I might have been 19 at that point. I don't remember, but um yeah, that was rough. Um
They allow you to
yeah, they let
go.
me. They
Okay.
let me they let me do it again, yeah. I don't know. I haven't had a lot of really bad memories traveling with the team. You know, a few weird things like that. Um it's always rough at a tournament to see someone not compete as well as you think they should have,
Mm.
or receive the accolades that their effort deserves.
Yeah.
Um, but I always got to remember, effort does not equal. Um, you don't necessarily receive praises equal to the effort you've put into something.
Yeah.
There's too many things at stake for that to be the rubric. You know, the judges aren't judging how many hours you put into your speech; they're judging what they thought of that performance.
Mm.
And so, when a student that has put in 40 hours in 1 week working on their speech, and that might be extreme, 15 or 20 might be more realistic,
Yeah.
on a big week, um, and then they don't break to finals, or they break to finals and they get last place in finals. It's really discouraging. And they're like, I know they were better than that. And that's hard for me as a coach because we win together, we lose together. When my
Right.
students win, I win.
Mm-hmm.
When my students lose, I lose.
Yeah.
Um, so lots of highs and lows competitively. Um, we won the national championship a couple years ago for Christian colleges,
Ooh.
and that was pretty cool. Christian, amongst all Christian college forensics teams, we won that national championship in 22, I think it was, and that was probably the highlight so far.
Okay.
competitively for me.
Was it a speech or two that in particular, or was it just like the fact
It,
that
it
you
was
were
the
able
whole.
to
It
win?
was the whole team. The fact that the whole team together won. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I did theater when I was younger. Not much, like 2 plays maybe, that I actually committed to. One of them was Tom Sawyer and
Okay.
just that whole play. And I was Huckleberry Finn and
Okay.
like his buddy,
Yeah.
his partner in crime. And I same type thing. I mean, I was younger. I was 13, 14 maybe around this time. But I was on stage and I was giving my lines and it hit me like I had never realized what I was saying and I like said it and then mentally I was very worried that I don't know what I said. Like was that the right thing I just said? Was it
Mm-hmm.
not? Turns out it was the right thing, but it messed me up right after that because I was so busy thinking about what did I just say and not
Mm-hmm.
knowing. I immediately just I messed it up and was
Yeah.
stuttering and like
Oh
so
no. When I was in high school, I got up to give a speech that I had been competing with all year,
mm,
and I just blanked. Like I have this speech memorized. I just blanked. I couldn't think of what the first words. I knew if I got the first words, I would be golden
mhm.
to sail through the rest. I couldn't get it. I stood there 30 seconds, a minute maybe.
Feels like a
It
lifetime.
felt like a lifetime. And finally I said, "Do you mind if we let someone else go?" And I look at my script and then refresh my memory and then come back. And he said, "Yeah, sure." And at high school, the league that I was in, they were really chill about
Okay.
that kind of stuff. I imagine college would too, especially if you hadn't started yet. If you had already started your speech and had to stop and go back, that probably wouldn't fly. I ended up winning the tournament with that speech.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's really funny.
because it was like I said, I knew once I got going, it was good. I think I got first from every judge of that tournament. So that it worked out
Yeah.
okay. I didn't do that very often. Getting first from every judge. That's a pretty big deal.
Isn't that a highlight?
Yeah, it is. Um, that year, no, it wasn't that year. It was the year after that. My duo partner, and I won every tournament
Mm.
except one, and then we didn't win nationals. But that was also a pretty big highlight. You know, going to 5 or 6 tournaments and winning all of them. Pretty cool.
It's a pretty proud moment.
Pretty big ego boost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, final question.
Okay.
What is advice you would give to those in the realm of communicating? And one thing that you said earlier was one of the very first things that you said was you constantly put yourself in circumstances that were uncomfortable in order to grow in public speaking. And you mentioned how you do that even outside of skill sets that you're trying to master. And I
Mm.
feel like that's kind of a lost thought. It's really, really easy, especially with media and our world and just, I don't know, electronics and all of those, just to stick with the comfortability and stick to what's comfortable. So if you have any advice or just any encouragement, what would you give like revolving around trying to communicate and then also just getting out of the comfortability, getting out of your comfort zone?
My communication advice
Mhm.
draws back to another cliche. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Oh, my mama told me that so many times.
And I boil it down to nice or nothing. I have that on my board in my office above my computer, nice or nothing. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Mm.
What's the point? If that is my test to make sure that I am communicating according to Ephesians 4:29. Let no unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is good, um, only what is good for others. I'm botching it
Right
right
for
now,
others.
but um, so that it may benefit those who listen.
Mhm.
And if I can't say, yeah, this is a nice thing to say, then I shouldn't say it. Now, nice has different types of nice. There's nice things that need to be said.
Yes.
There's nice things that are welcomed when they are said. There are nice things that are not welcomed, not desired but needed.
Mm.
Uh, and so there's, we could really get into that, but nice or nothing.
Yes.
That's what it is. So many things we don't actually need to say.
Yeah.
We don't need to say it. If I find myself asking, should I say this? The answer is no.
If you question, yeah.
If I'm questioning, do I need to say this? The answer is probably no. Now, maybe you can loop back to that in a different frame of mind and have a better way to say it. Okay, but if you're hesitant, maybe the answer is no.
Yes.
That's my biggest advice on communication. Say what you need and nothing else. And be nice to people, not just yeah, and just be nice. Be
Nice or
nice.
nothing.
Yeah, nice or nothing. Yeah, yeah. How you act, not just what you say. Getting out of your comfort zone. I make a goal for myself every year. Every year that I teach, I have a new goal for myself, and I regret that this year I've had kind of some things in the back of my head. I never really nailed down what my goal for this year is, but it's always what's something that I know I need to get better at. Not necessarily what's a flaw I need to fix. What's something I know I need to get better at, and I push myself to figure that out, even though sometimes it's hard. Like one year it was I want to make better PowerPoints for class, right? Because I was just doing text on the slide with bullet points. I'm like, that's boring, and it's not helpful for learning. And so I forced myself to learn how to make better PowerPoints. And they aren't perfect, but they're definitely better than they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to find time to do things that are outside of your wheelhouse.
Yes.
And so I don't do a lot of I don't pick up new hobbies very often, but I still find it important to push myself to do hard things. And I push my students to do hard things. I'm like, I know this is not a speech category you have done before, but I see skill potential in you. Are you willing to learn this new thing? And I've got one student this year that has, every time it's getting frustrating for her, she stops and goes, "We do hard things. We do hard things." I'm like, yes, we
Yes,
do.
we do. Yep.
No, let me help you do this hard thing. Let me help you learn it. And we do, right? And she's doing a great job. But it doesn't mean it's not easy. That doesn't mean it's easy. That doesn't mean it's not hard.
Yeah.
And relationally, sometimes hard things are communicating with people in relationships too. Sometimes hard things look like offering criticism
Mm-hmm.
or not offering criticism. Letting your ego go to the back burner because I don't have to be right about this. The hardest part about this is me being okay with this thing my wife does that bugs me to death because me critiquing that is not what she needs right now. And so there's a discernment that comes with the nice or nothing, but
Mm-hmm.
also with the hard things. Sometimes the hard thing is not saying anything at all.
Yes.
So it's often harder not to say something than it is to say something. It's funny how those two things looped back together a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But comfort zones, yeah, get out of your comfort zone. That doesn't mean do everything. And I would say don't do everything.
Burnout.
I went through a couple years ago. I said this is my year of saying no, and it turned into 2 years of saying no. It was amazing. I said no to everything. I mean not everything, but I said no to most big new projects and big things people asked me to do. I'm like, nope. I got to focus on being a better me. I got to focus on being a better teacher with the responsibilities that I currently have.
Mm.
Focus on being a better husband. We had a foster kid at the time. I'm like, I got to focus on being a better parent to this kid that's in our home. And I'm not taking on new responsibilities. Um, I need to go back to that right now.
It's hard to say no.
It's so hard, but um, so getting outside of your box is not doing everything that comes along your path. It's not doing every opportunity, but it's picking the right ones
Mm.
and just pushing yourself to be better in ways that you know you can, even though it's not easy.
Better yourself, learn a new skill.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me on this.
You're so welcome. It's been
This is
great.
fun.
It's been a lovely chat.
Yes, lovely. But, well, this was chapter 2 of the journal with Eric Mishne, Professor Mishne, coach, and all the other hats. Future coffee business, no, not business owner,
No.
coffee maker of a food truck someday. Perhaps.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Thank you, and
You're
thank
welcome.
y'all for watching. Perfect.